Hey everybody, how you doing? Tom Barnes here. Stories from the 78. I just came back from a lunch and I talked to two Chicago legends. One is in the retail space and has a store that has been in the city for 50 years, or celebrating 50 years. Another, a photographer that is taking some of the most famous snapshots of bands that have rolled through the city. And both of them talked about how important the arts are, especially here in Chicago. That is why I love it when I hear about organizations that lift up our art community. And that is why I am talking about the Downstage Arts organization. 100% of their students have been placed in top college programs across the country. They're celebrating 6 years this May. And I am happy to talk to Bella, one of the co-founders of this important organization. Bella, how you doing?
Doing great, Tom. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Happy anniversary. 6 years with this work, Downstage Arts. And you guys have done so much work in 6 years. I cannot believe the stats about placing 100% of students in that you have across the country in college programs and whatnot. But first, if you would, just give me a little example of what you guys are all about.
When me and my colleagues were reflecting on our work, both as artists here in Chicago, but educators in the city, we really wanted to make impact on the future of not only our industry,
Mhm.
but for the students that we're working alongside. So when we started seeing our students get to the age where they were thinking about what their professional future might look like, what their higher education might look like, we wanted to be a resource along the way. And then when we started to look around and see what are the resources for high school students to be supported in auditioning and preparing for collegiate auditions for performing arts. And what we saw was maybe a little predatory. Sometimes programs that would maybe take families thousands of dollars a month to
Mm.
access that support and training. And we thought to ourselves, if we wanted to see how the future look diverse and interesting and full of people with different experiences, we wanted to create a gateway to let students start to invest in themselves without a financial impact or burden on themselves or their families before they take on often, a high risk career or the investment in education, which is really expensive.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that has a kid in anything these days, it's super expensive. And it's interesting, because this organizations are out there when it comes to sports, right? Sports has so many programs and it's really expensive, but they're falling out of trees, sports programs that help kids, it seems like. But with the arts, it's always been a struggle. And I don't understand why. Our city is so wonderful with our, and I feel like we are not looked at as much as perhaps like New York or LA, just because we're the Midwest. But like we've pumped out amazing theatrical performers, bands, movie stars, comedians, you name it. We have contributed to the world in more ways than we get credit for. But here in this city, though, we appreciate the arts, but I feel like arts are always the ones that are like, hey, what about us? Like, what do you, how are we going to help our community? And it's so Chicago of you guys to be like, you know what, we're just going to help ourselves.
I think as you said, Chicago, I think is a world-class city for the performing arts. You have so many amazing companies that some are known across the country, like a Steppenwolf or
Yeah.
a Second City producing great artists. But I think what we love about Chicago is that the students who are here are really invested in where they come from, and they want to carry that with them, whether they are staying in state for their training or going across the country. And I think we love our students in our program because we believe investing in the arts, whether it leads to students like some of ours who are going on to college to begin professional careers, perhaps in the industry, will also make better neighbors, right? So I think
Yeah.
when we learn how to make art together at any level, from the very young ages some of us begin through a professional time, it makes us think about how do we care for each other, how do we listen, how do we collaborate. And I think the investment in programs like this, both that are more professionally oriented or even just for students to engage with this programming for a limited time, will only lead to students who can speak more confidently in public situations, maybe collaborate with people who have different ideas than them, and be able to tell their story with pride. And I think something I've learned in my years working in theater and teaching it is that I think it's just a success to see those skills be brought into every workspace, as I'm excited to see it brought onto stage. And I think like taking that passion and bringing it to our community is really important.
And Bella, you are a co-founder of this organization. You mentioned other founders. How many founders are there, co-founders? I want to make sure I get all that right, because I believe
Yeah.
last year I think I talked to Lindsay last year, and she told me a little bit about this. But if you would just kind of, just because you said you were an artist yourself.
Yes. So, myself, our executive director, Lindsay, one of our wonderful other instructors, Kara, and Tanner, who is no longer teaching with us actively, but is actually like a Chicago public school teacher now. We're all teachers, actors, performers, directors in the city. And around 2020, we were thinking about how can we take this work we do and make deeper impact. And as you know, that was a crazy year to say, let's take a big risk in the performing arts space. But we were able to get our 501c3, which is our nonprofit status that year. And things took a turn.
Yeah,
and
as they did.
We were not doing theater in person. But when we got to the fall, we still saw students who were trying to figure out what college was going to look like for them as that process changed forever into how even those processes are today, which required being able to video your auditions, to pre-screen them for these organizations, to find that access. So our very first class was fall 2020. We were 100% virtual. It was only 5 students, and we only met in person under, safety conditions to film their audition pieces that we submitted for college, as well as film some pieces for like a showcase that was a virtual celebration. And to think now that 6 years later, we have now 11 senior students and about 11 juniors in our current cohort of about 22 students, in person, meeting 6 hours a month in our studio, doing private lessons with us throughout. It's just like a huge transformation, and seeing how the seed we planted is expanding. And our dream is to continue to expand this to create as much access for not only the training, the college support, but like a community, which I think is really important for these young people as well.
Yeah, I mean, because if anybody's done anything like this, either in the theatrical arts or even sports, when you get into the community that is willing to help others do the thing that is the game, the auditions, where to audition, how to audition, what do I wear, what kind of, this and that. Those things are so important, especially to parents who have a child of the complete opposite end of what that parent grew up like. Like you could have a dad who's like a total gearhead and a mother who is like, a doctor, but they have this brilliant, theatrical star that is so out of the comfort zone of those parents that they might be smart in their fields, but they are ignorant in this field. So to be able to have a community embrace them and make them feel welcome and not feel stupid for not knowing all the answers, because once you're playing catch up, if you're not a person that was in theater growing up, but your kid is, you want to be like the best parent you can for your kid, and to not know any of this, it feels daunting for a lot of kids and parents. So to have this wonderful, and I feel like the theatrical community in general is always just welcoming and wonderful, at least in Chicago. I feel like it makes that olive branch even a bigger one to grasp onto.
Absolutely. When we are introducing ourselves to potential new students, we always have interviews that include a guardian. And the biggest pattern we see is parents who are like, I see this spark, I see this talent in my student, but I don't know how I can help them. And that's where we come in, where we can show them where they are able to support their student and also become like part of the team that supports their student, bringing our expertise when it comes to the audition material, our assistance when it comes to the organizational skills and considerations into selecting colleges, but also like connecting them with like our financial aid advisor, because, finances are different for every single family. And we have a wonderful woman who will give a presentation to families, but we'll have one-on-one meetings for each family as requested to help make those decisions. It is a team sport, is what I always say. And we might just be one part of the team, but when we have enthusiastic parents, whether they know about our field or just know that they want to do the best thing for their child, working together on a team, I think, is what leads to some of our most successful students, when everyone is behind them, invested in them, and also showing great examples of accountability, of communication, and also of like passion and like being a little fearless, and something that feels a little intimidating. So it's something really important for us to
Yeah,
connect with their parents as well as the students.
absolutely. And, I'm sure you've done this long enough where you perhaps meet a child or a young adult and they have that thing that might separate them from others, right? And you're just like, oh my gosh, to like see raw talent and know that, and yes, everybody's doing their thing, everybody's trying to be, special in their own way. But, like, people on Broadway are people on Broadway for a reason, or somebody that's, has done 10 motion pictures or has 7 Netflix series. There's usually a reason behind it. They're really talented. They are masters at their craft, right? But that doesn't just happen. They've had it their whole life. And to recognize it at a younger age is so important to get that kid or young adult on the right track with the right people. So you mentioned a little bit about the predatory things that have happened. That is, I'm sure you've heard stories about like the, child actors in Hollywood and stuff like that. So to be able to cultivate a positive atmosphere for these kids and family to feel safe and feel like you're dealing with professionals. I was reading a little bit about what you guys are all about, and offering free professional level training to emerging artists. That's also like rubbing off on their parents too, if they don't know. So it's like this whole thing. It's just a wonderful thing that we offer here. I'm not part of it, but that you offer here in Chicago. So like, walk me through, like, for somebody that's watching this, that their kid is like the star at their school right now, and they can't stop singing throughout the house, and they're doing plays for like their friends in the backyard. Like, how do people get involved with your organization? How do parents find you? What are the steps for them to, like, do they just, is it a simple
Absolutely.
phone call, or what have you?
So, our program at this time serves both rising juniors and rising seniors. So, you can be with us for 2 years or a single year, depending on when you cross our path. So, at this time, it's either the year before you start your audition and college audition process, or the year of. Um, so many of our students have been finding us through, as we've expanded our connections through the city. Of course, we teach throughout the city for our organizations. We partner, so luckily, with the Illinois High School Musical Theater Awards, where we coach students who get to move on to the Jimmy. So we interact with kids from all over the state through that. We do some like master classes, but a lot of it comes from like word of mouth from students and our alumni network connecting with each other. So if you are hearing us and you're not connected with us, the way to find us is just through any of our social platforms that are always Downstage Arts. So whether it's downstagearts.org, our Instagram, and you'll find a link. We already have our application open for the 2026-2027 cohort, which will begin next August. And the way that you can connect is filling out that form. And instead of like an audition, of course, we ask students to share either a resume, sometimes an example of performance. But the way we really get to know our students is through an interview. So if you are interested, the interview really is informational. So if you think your student might be a great fit for this, I ask you to head over to our website, fill out that form, and schedule some time to chat with us. We do a whole presentation because it is a big commitment.
Mhm.
And as much as we are hoping to train amazing artists, we're also taking on the task of helping teenagers start to enter adulthood, and the responsibilities of organization and accountability, and kind of taking on the role of being behind the driver's seat of life. And hopefully, if you think your student is ready for that task, we want to meet them, and we'd love to help support them accessing higher education, whether that is, really performance focused program, or just a wonderful school that lets them still explore the arts as they continue their education.
And where are you guys located, for folks who might not know?
Absolutely. Our studio currently is like in the Jefferson Park neighborhood.
Oh
So,
yeah, just down the street. I'm up by a
yeah.
super dog.
Okay, yeah, not too far at all. So, we are in a studio space that we rehearse in person twice a month as a full cohort of all of our students. Our extraordinary head of dance, Victoria Medich, leads dance classes during that time, in addition to the acting and singing that we have happening. And then on the weeks that we don't meet in person, because we have students suddenly joining us from the greater Chicagoland as well. We've had
Sure.
students come in from Aurora or Zion and elsewhere outside of the city. So the weeks that we're not in person here in Jefferson Park in Chicago, we do virtual lessons where they're able to work on the organization needed for college applications or coaching of the material that they're selecting for their auditions as well. So we try to meet in the middle of the importance of in-person training and collaboration, as well as like the access needs of students who are often kids who have a lot going on extracurricularly, who
Yeah.
might be from all over the city, and having kind of the weeks where it's a little easier to meet virtually to maintain both schedules.
For sure. And I know that you mentioned, juniors and seniors, but for those parents that have the younger kids, right, who they know they got something going on, they're maybe perhaps
Yeah.
doing something in junior high. Do you offer anything where, like, say, those parents just to come and look and observe and be like, just to like show their kid, like, hey, listen, you're doing this thing now. And, I'm talking about the kid that's just like over the top, like their parents are like, wow, we got to figure this out. Can parents, are they still willing, like, to come in and be like, here, this is where we can aim for you to be when you're in high school, if you're still serious about this, but here, there's more kids just like you here.
Yeah, of course. I think all we ask is for you to reach out, and we love to like introduce our community, whether to watch a day where we're running material, or I'm sure, as we'll speak about soon, our annual event that's coming up.
Hmm.
When Downstage Arts serves younger students, it's been in partnership often with Chicago Public Schools, where we've had like after school programs. But if you think that your school might be served by having great artists after school, like reaching out to us and connecting with us is a way for us to get those connections into place. So reaching out might let you have like a moment to do maybe a little coaching session, do a little voice lesson
Sure.
or
Yeah.
acting class, or even just watch the high schools do what they're doing. And or if you think your school or community could be served by some really great performing arts programs for those younger students, we're always looking for new networking connections to bring free and low cost performing arts programming across the city. So that's something we're always looking to do as well.
And you guys really lean into the empowerment of women as well.
Yeah, I mean, our entire leadership team at this time is all femme artists here in Chicago. And though our students are of so many different identities, I think seeing a community led by femme artists from all sorts of different backgrounds, I think is just like much like how we like to see the future of the industry for our students. We're hoping to also model a future with really strong, wonderful women. And of course, we have some wonderful men who have supported us on our board and our community
Sure. Yeah.
guest teaching artists. But our leadership team is a femme forward group. And I think from our experiences as women in the industry, both as performers, directors, teachers, I think we can share that experience and the grind that we've often faced with the students, and hopefully create a softer place for the next generation to land. We're not a generation of teachers who are like, you better quit, it's hard out there. We rather create
I've heard.
students who know, students who have like, know that like what makes them a great performer can make them great at so many things in life. And to follow a different path is just as big of success as it is to like end up on a Broadway stage, right? And I think
Amen.
that you can be anything, and using your skills as a performer to be those is just as successful. Some of my greatest friends that I trained with are lawyers, are in sales, who work in different fields, but they always reflect back to their training and commitment to this performing arts world as like what impacted them to find that success in their career as well.
I think every actor I probably have interviewed at one point or another has probably had somebody in their life tell them, why are you doing this? You shouldn't do this. And you can kind of throw that across the board with any job or profession, because everything's changing. Everybody who's been in it for a long time thinks it's never going to be the same and yada, yada, yada. Yes, there are challenges in the world, but it's up to us, the generation that's doing it, to make people who are younger realize that there's still purpose to do the thing. Otherwise, AI will take over everything and it'll be a really boring
Yes,
and vanilla world. You know what I mean?
yes,
So
yes.
good on you for doing all of that. You guys are celebrating 6 years. How are you celebrating 6 years as this organization?
Thank you for asking. So On Monday, May 18th, we are having our 6th annual Teen Cohort Showcase and Fundraiser. We will be in Garfield Park, Chicago at
Oh,
Bandwidth Chicago's brand new amazing space. They are another amazing Chicago nonprofit institution working to bring underserved communities wonderful performing arts, and are lucky to be our host for the evening. You will be able to see some amazing local businesses featured in a silent auction, with all profits going to making sure this program remains free for the future. And
hmm,
then our 2025-2026 teen cohort class will be performing their showcase. And what we love about that part of our year is in the fall, when we're doing auditions, it's so like funneled into your individual tunnel of like what you're doing. And in the spring, we get to do why we want to do theater, which is collaboration. So students are working together, doing scenes, duets, a large group number, and really just getting to celebrate their talent and everyone that they grew alongside with for the year. It's a big celebration. There's going to be food and beverages and just a celebration to send off our seniors. A bunch of our alumni come back, now featuring
oh,
two
that's fun.
classes who have graduated college, which is super surreal. And it's just like a homecoming as much as it's a senior send off. And it's one of my favorite days of the year. And if you're looking to join us, you'll
Yeah.
find ticketing on our website, downstagearts.org. And it is just a wonderful night to celebrate the future, reflect on our past, and keep dreaming to see where we can go down the line as we continue to grow.
And that is happening May 18th. So in a couple
That's
weeks,
right.
but people have time to purchase tickets, to help out,
Absolutely.
and any other information, they should go to the website, which is, again,
Downstagearts.org. Downstagearts.org. Yeah.
Bella, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me. I really appreciate it, and continue to do the good work, and remind folks why Chicago matters in so many ways, but arts specifically.
Thank you so much, Tom. And like clearly you share a vision we do, which is to celebrate the city, all the people who come here. And we hope that our students will get to do the same. So we hope to see you all come support us. And thank you for having me today.